Kevin was tasked by his boss to help locate and clear snake pits in the Amazon rainforest. He was no stranger to snakes, but the well he found here had an ominous air about it. He knew this was not going to be an ordinary workday. This was confirmed when he tried to go down, and the snakes became more aggressive. Kevin decided not to go to the bottom right away. This would probably lead to very nasty injuries. He chose the slow approach instead. He was trying to locate what the snakes were protecting. There was one thing that stood out. Kevin had once heard of a local legend, but he quickly dismissed that thought. They had to anesthetize the snakes to get there, so he called for backup. The backup arrived quickly. They came to help Kevin down the well. He was given some protective gear by his colleagues, and with stun arrows, they managed to stun most of the snakes. When Kevin finally got there, everyone dropped their jaws. How is this possible? But what had Kevin found at the bottom of the snake pit? Why was everyone so shocked by what they had encountered? Before we start, can we get this video to 1,000 likes? Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Kevin had been searching for snake pits in the Amazon for several months in the rainforest. He and his colleagues had worked hard to make sure the rainforest is a safe place for everyone to go. But it hasn't been easy. It has been a slow and difficult process to track down all the pits. Some of them are very well hidden. The lack of available roads and the constant dangers of the rainforest have made it even more difficult. They are way behind schedule. Some of the locals are even threatening the company. They worship the snakes and want to leave the pits intact. Kevin's company is hired by the government, so they had no choice but to continue. Kevin knew it couldn't be slowed down anymore. The authorities gave them an ultimatum until the end of the month. Otherwise, no one would be paid. Kevin decided he would split off from his team to find the snake pits on his own. This turned out to be the biggest mistake of his life. When Kevin was clearing a path, he suddenly jumped back. He had seen something in the vegetation that he was very afraid of. He knew he had to keep going, but he had no backup or real plan. It can be really dangerous. What he had seen was a giant anaconda, not just any ordinary one, the biggest he had ever seen. It slowly made its way to Kevin. His first instinct was to run. He could guess where he ended up. This was indigenous territory. Tribes still lived here. They had never had any contact with the outside world, nor seen anyone from Europe. These people worshipped snakes, so Kevin is definitely an enemy to them. He slowly wandered around trying to find his way back. At that moment, he tripped over an altar. He had cheated. It was an altar of a serpent. There was something behind it. As he walked around the altar, he saw something he feared. It was the largest snake pit he had ever seen. When he looked into the snake pit, he saw huge snakes. They were protecting something that was down there. That was obvious. Kevin mustered up the courage to at least go through the snake pit to find out. This was not his smartest plan. As he was preparing his gear for takeoff, he heard sounds from the forest. Kevin thought he was imagining this, so he went ahead with his plan. The moment he tried to go over the edge, he suddenly became dizzy. He went into a complete blackout. Kevin opened his eyes after a while. It dawned on him that he was sedated. A dart had hit him just before he tried to descend the snake pit. Now he was a prisoner of the natives. He was put in a cage next to the snake pit. What would happen to him? Kevin realized that they probably had plans to sacrifice him to the snakes. It looked like this ritual would take place that night. Kevin had to make sure he could escape and call for backup. He needed his backpack. He had a flare in his backpack, which would surely help him get out of this precarious situation. The torch would warn his colleagues and part of the military that helped them clear the potholes. Then he saw his backpack. It was right next to his cage. He was so lucky to be able to get to it. He quickly took the flare pistol from the backpack and fired it. At that moment, the natives ran away. They knew that this meant trouble for them that they did not want to get into. The backup arrived quickly. The army, accompanied by his colleagues, helped get him out of this cage. They immediately sealed off the area to clear the snake pit. Kevin told them there was something down there, something the natives adored. Removing the snakes from the center revealed something that no one expected. There was a huge snake in the middle of the giant bulge. There was something in there. They had to get it out. They decide they need to call someone and try to reach the nearest vet. When the conversation with the vet ended, the employee who called him reacted in complete shock. The vet says the snake may be pregnant and is about to lay its eggs here, in the middle of the snake pit. The vet decided to visit the company's warehouse. When the vet finally arrived, the snake was still in the same spot the workers kept it. But it became increasingly clear that this would not be the case for long, as the snake had become very aggressive at that point. The doctor was confident that he would survive the injection. All that remained was to approach the snake with the anesthetics. The vet waited for the snake to turn its head the other way. Then she slowly approached the snake and quickly injected the sedative into the lower body of the snake. Now they had to wait for the snake to be completely sedated. Now the vet could finally turn her attention to the big bulge on the snake that she actually came for. She can quickly confirm her suspicion that the object is stuck at the entrance to the snake's stomach by feeling its body. The object trapped in his body was something the snake had swallowed and could not be broken down by the digestive system. The vet could only do one thing. With the utmost precision and care, the vet cuts open the snake along with the bulge, and after passing through the skin, muscle, and esophagus, the source of the bulge is finally revealed to everyone. But it's not what they expected. He found a small plastic box that initially baffled the vet, but the workers immediately knew realized what was happening. But the workers also realized that this was not good news for the snake. This box was their cool box, in which they kept most of their perishables such as meat. However, the meat in this one was spoiled, so they left it out of the truck as it smelled really bad. But they still couldn't figure out how the snake found this cooler, thinking they'd put it away safely. The snake must have picked up the scent and thought it was prey, so he swallowed it whole. But unfortunately, it quickly learned the consequences of a mistake that could prove fatal to the snake. With the cooler removed, the vet quickly begins to reattach the hose. While doing this, she also shreds the snake to track its movement and see if it survives the long-term ordeal. Then they wake the snake, hoping it won't be aggressive anymore. It will take about a few minutes for the snake to wake up. It is still dazed and confused at first, but after a while it starts to creep away a lot faster than before the surgery. After the snake was back in the woods, the vet had one thing left to do. She thanked the workers for their incredible efforts to protect the snake and themselves. After this, she went back to the city where more patients are waiting for her. To make sure the snake was okay, the vet did one last thing. She monitored the snake's behavior through the chip she had planted. The snake is behaving completely normal, and the vet can confidently say that the operation was successful. She saved the animal's life.